because this is going to be our weekly, almost kind of like a podcast, if you will. There will be different episodes, and this will be our first episode, and it's going to be our Wednesday workflow calls. One of the things that me and Brian have found out with talking to agents for, shoot, how many freaking years have you been talking to agents?
A lot.
A lot of years.
A lot.
A long time. We have found, especially in today's market, that processes, agency workflows in our current hiring dilemma, if you will, in our current environment, having solid processes and solid workflows to have a efficient agency it's never been more important for agencies. And we have noticed a lot of people in looking at Agency Elephant, and a lot of people in Insurance Soup as well, have a significant employment problem. And the only way that they can fix their agency's problem is to hire, but they can't. And so we are trying to address that in a few different ways. And one of those is workflows. Do you want to explain a little bit about what an agency workflow is?
Yeah, so I guess our current dilemma here, and everyone's dilemma in their agency or issue is going to be different. Right now we have full-time CSR out on maternity leave. And inside of our agency, getting answers for billing issues, underwriting issues, you name it, it's taking a lot longer than normal. What used to take 5 minutes to resolve is now taking sometimes up to hours to resolve, right? And so what we're finding is, crap, I know I have to do that, but I have all of these things here right now. And this one here might take an hour and a half. And by the time I get to this one, I might have forgot about this opportunity over here. And so,
or I might have forgotten about the chat I was sitting on that was an hour wait, and they responded, but I got pulled onto a phone call with somebody else. And right. Now I forgot that chat and I got to start all over again.
It's the difference between like letting your clients and prospects pull your agency in the direction they want to go versus you setting proper expectations and knocking out your to-do list efficiently and effectively. And seeing, my biggest thing was not being able to see everything. And I was we have a giant whiteboard in the office. And if I'm working from home, guess what's not getting updated? The whiteboard. Or if Ariel has 15 people to call back since yesterday, she's not going to go over and update the whiteboard. And so things just weren't getting done. And that was just on the sales side, right? Most of us, I think, have a whiteboard and we only use it for sales. Very few, I think, are putting up, hey, this person responded to this drip. I have a life insurance opportunity over here. Or, hey, this person had a glass claim. I should probably follow up with them at some point, make sure everything's going smooth. And we were finding that, and it happens all the time, the little things just weren't getting done because we were constantly putting out fires, and so that's why I went to you yesterday or a few days ago last week. And it was like, what if we had a different approach to, I know it's a sales pipeline, but what if we had, and you came up with the workflow term, but I just wanted to be able to see a 30,000 foot overview of all of the things that were going on in my agency and not have any automation tied into them yet, right? I didn't want to have the wrong verbiage go out. Maybe it's a one-off scenario and it made more sense for me to just send a one-on-one ringless voicemail to that person. But I didn't remember because I didn't have a one-spot shop where I could see everything going on. It was, oh crap, I got to scroll through 6 days of my email inbox. And I was just forgetting a lot of the little things that, in my opinion, set us apart from the agency down the street.
Yeah. One of the things that would happen to me, because, and I don't think I'm any special in this manner. There's a lot of moving parts in my day, and I forget typically when I have addressed a problem or when I haven't. I'll forget that I did it. And I don't think I'm unique in that area. I think a lot of people are like that with how busy their lives are, whether it be with kids and sports, or their agencies are so busy, or they're doing something else in life, whatever it is. I don't think I'm unique in the sense that yesterday I saw one of my clients post this thing about how excited she was. She purchased her, her dream car, like a realistic dream car. And she was talking about like all of her sobriety and all these other things. And I was like, shoot, she messaged me and told me she got a new car. I never freaking added it last week. Son of a gun. I got to go and do that. And I read it at like 11 that night. And I was like, son of a gun. It kept me up all night. I couldn't sleep because I was like, I forgot to do that. Really, I did the task. But because I didn't have a bucket that I moved it out to a completed task, I couldn't go and look at that and say, well, it would have been in my uncompleted task if I didn't do it. And so I was just going off of memory, and my memory with the other projects on my plate isn't as good as it was. But I don't think I'm unique in that. I think there's a lot of people that are like that.
Well, I think it boils down to just like the state of our country where we're at right now. I think a lot of people are running on fumes. I feel like it. I know we've discussed it. We've discussed it with Mike and Taylor. It just seems like a lot of agents, and it's probably in multiple industries, but it like auto parts are, I talked to a body shop today. They're waiting 5 months for a specific part to come in for a car. This person's been without their car for 5 months. Like everything is just different now. And I feel that a lot of us are running on fumes. And yep. I'm between the kids in school and the kids in sports and family stuff and motorcycle club stuff and being a good friend and making sure I take my wife out on dates and running an agency and doing all these things. Man, I'm forgetting more things, I feel, than I'm remembering.
And I don't think that we are unique in that. And we've talked about this. We've been talking about the idea of an agency workflow, because we noticed that a lot of people aren't using the sales pipeline as heavily as we would like, because we're building a lot of things on the back end. There's a lot of big updates coming to Agency Elephant pretty quickly, and we're not ready to announce or roll them out, but there's a lot of big updates, and they're going to be geared or driven from the pipeline status area. That is where they're going to be driven from. And so we're trying to get people not just to use the sales pipeline more, but to have an efficient and a productive agency that isn't pulled in different directions all day long. So I'm going to share my screen here on Zoom, and I'm going to show you kind of what an idea of a workflow looks like. This is going to be pretty much an introduction call today. Next week, we are going to be building them. So we're going to give you some homework at the end of the call for you guys. And next week, we are going to build them together on the call. We're going to go over and building it. And again, this is not going to have automation attached to it. Some of the biggest fears with the sales pipeline is not knowing what's going out, not knowing when it's going out, not wanting to step on your own feet. This is going to help you set something up. And when you're ready to say, okay, I want in a late pay bucket, this message to go out every time this same way, and we will show you how to do it. So these calls, although we're going to be starting from the beginning every week, we're going to be progressing quicker every week. So we're going to start from the beginning and show you, this is the workflow we're building today. This is how simple it is. Now let's add an automation to it, and we'll show you.
Right. And so that's kind of what we wanted to do, was grow into your workflow. I don't want to build it and come up with all of the verbiage and all the drips and what's said and what delivery method. I want to do that. I want to personally do that slowly. And we talked about this yesterday. My shirt's unbuttoned, my buttons undone. We talked about this yesterday too, Matt. On some of these things, you could even let the cat out of the bag that it's automated. Mm-hmm. Like maybe on late pay, it's a ringless voicemail when we do build this out that says, this is an automated message from the Brian Blair Agency. We noticed your bill is late. Please call 1-800 whatever to pay it. Or if you'd like to set that up on monthly recurring payments, call the office.
Yep.
Or text so now you're driving your agency the direction that it needs to go, instead of, oh crap, I got another late pay, better call them. And then the phone rings and you miss an opportunity.
Yep. And then when you get into the weeds on this and you start building these workflows out, it gives you the ability to say, okay, now my staffing problem I can address by hiring out an inbound VA or inbound calling service that handles all of my inbound phones. Because I think me and Brian have talked about this a lot. Every other business today, every other business has changed how they operate, changed how they communicate, and changed how people can do business with them. And everybody has accepted and adapted to it. Everybody. Our marketplace and the way we do business has changed in the last year, and everybody's okay with it. However, insurance agents are still under the assumption that they have to pick up the phone every single time it rings. I was on a one-on-one demo with someone the other day, which we don't do very often. I was on a one-on-one demo with somebody and their phone rang and they had to pick it up. And when they got back on, I said, how often do you do that with your tasks? Because my time's valuable. And if you're on with a customer doing that, or you're on with somebody else, asking them to hold so you can answer the phone call, you are trying to do your best every time, but you're doing a disservice because you can only do the things that you can do. And you need to change your processes. Not answering your phones and having it go a straight automatic text message go out or email that says, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm in a meeting. What's going on? Not answering your phone, but sending an immediate response to the phone call. That is still an immediate communication. And I have never lost a customer doing business that way. I do not answer inbound phone calls anymore. Automatic text message goes to that customer. Hey, I'm so sorry, I'm in a meeting. What's going on? Every single time. I am still communicating efficiently. And every single time the customer responds, don't worry about it. I understand you have other customers and you have other things that you're not just waiting for me to call. And changing this workflow will give you the ability to step back, change some of your processes so that a virtual assistant can add things into your workflow for your staff to complete. Now you're not putting out fires. Now you're addressing the priorities as they're coming.
Well, and I tell Ariel all the time, like, we're not an inbound call center and we're not a walk-in clinic, right? Like, call your doctor, call your family practitioner and call them and ask for the doctor. What do you think is going to happen?
You will have a gatekeeper that puts you into a bucket and sets an expectation of what's going to happen next. Great, you have a billing issue. I'm going to put you on our appointment list for the afternoon to get that resolved. Ariel will be emailing you later this afternoon to connect with you on that and get it resolved. Any other questions or concerns? Nope, awesome, have a great day. Done. You are telling them you are going to handle it. You're just not going to do it now. And that's okay.
Yep.
So let's go over the workflow here and show you a basic workflow. This is kind of geared more around farmers agents. There's some farmers terminology in here. So this is why we want you to do these while we are on the call with you. So if you have dual monitor, awesome. If not, maybe you can pull this up on the live on your phone or on some other tablet or something that you can look at while you have your dashboard open for next call, because we are going to be doing these, but we want you to do them with us. This is going to be a coaching session, but we want you to do these things while we're coaching. We'll give you adequate time to do it, okay? Yeah. So we broke it out into 2 different workflows, and your agency might have 2, might have 1, and might have 5. That's up to you. But we broke it out into a service and a sales workflow, because as we're building these out, we don't want our workflows to look like some pipelines I see where they're so small because there's so many things, you can't see the people and the statuses, right? We want to segment out our workflows so that we can visually see everything that's going on. And we can also see in total what's going on if we wanted to. So we separated out our workflow to a service and a sales workflow. This is going to be unique for your agency, and that is okay. But we want to start basic, okay? We can separate things out later. We're going to show you how to do all this. We're going to walk you through everything. Q&A can always go in the comments that we can be helping address. I know Charles is in there today helping with that. But this is your basic workflow, okay? Now, from a sales workflow, we include your automated sales pipeline, okay? That can be a starting place for you to work off of and change. In this case, Brian changed some of his sales workflow. He wanted leads, He wanted opportunities pending, people he'd talked to, but he hadn't quoted yet. He wanted people that he's quoted. And he wanted a sold, not bound column because he does a lot of mortgage referrals, a lot of lender referrals. So he'll sell the policy, but it's not bound because they haven't gotten the EOI request yet. And then he wanted a sold and bound column, okay? Because you could send out the onboarding drips. The last column he wanted was a life opportunity. And we've talked about a laundry list before, having a laundry list of different ideas, but starting basic, picking your most simple agency workflows for sales.
Well, in last week's call, or was it earlier this week, that's McDade's idea. That's Charles's idea. He had mentioned a 3-step pipeline. Like, let's get used to using this. And then you'll know if you want to add another column. You'll know if you want to say, you know what, I don't like the way this happens because I get these and this and this confused. I want to add this. And by that point, you'll have the know-how on how to come in here and do that. Okay. But again, this isn't doing anything. I can drag and drop someone right now from one column to the next, and nothing is going to happen. This is for now just giving me a visual. It's the thermostat of my agency. I can see everything that's going on. I know who has an open claim. That way, when I come in tomorrow and I go, you know what, crap, I haven't touched base with this person yet. Let me send them a quick text and just check on them. They're in the column. They're staring at me right in my face. Instead of the normal process, oh, we filed a claim, on to the next. And that person may be slipping through the cracks. Right? I want to make sure that I'm delivering service on all of the things, not just the sales and quoting opportunity that I have.
Correct. And one of the things before we really started pushing these workflows, one of the things that we have focused a majority of our time and energy on is making the system itself being efficient, having our load time significantly reduced. If you were in our system a month and a half ago, you know that our platform is significantly faster than it was a month and a half ago. We have invested a ton of resources into making sure that our system can work as fast as physically possible. And we are investing a ton of time and money into making it more user-friendly. There is a lot of updates coming that will help with the usability of the system. That is what we spend a majority of our day doing, is updating, changing, building, all of these things. Okay. So this is your pipeline, essentially your workflows. None of this is going to have any automation attached to the back end. Nothing's going to happen when you move these people. It is all simply just going to be for your visual. Okay. And on the service side, we just picked simple things that happen on our day-to-day. As you are doing your agency day in and day out, you'll find, hey, this person, Steve Jones, whoever it is, they don't necessarily fit in my open SR section because it just doesn't fit in one of these buckets. I need to add a new one. Starting basic gives you basic buckets to put people in, and you will start to really know as you're using it if you need to add and make some buckets more specific than others. Right. But these are just things that we want to see happen, or we want to see in front of us all day, because this is what we feel. And it's going to be really eye-opening for a lot of agents. They're going to come into their agency and say, I feel like these are the tasks we do all day. As they have their buckets, etc., put up in front of them, they're going to be noticing, man, I didn't notice that we did this task as much as we did. We need to find a way to correct this and get in front of it to try and reduce how many of these we have come up in front of us. And for me, it's not getting documents signed. I have a lot of customers who don't sign documents that go into a pending cancellation that I then have to get documents and then go to underwriting and reverse the pending cancellation. And so that's a process for me that I need to get in front of because it's wasting my time a month and a half from now.
Yep. Yep.
So those are things that are in my workflows that I'm focused on, is what are the things that I'm doing every day that I can try to correct before it becomes the problem.
And one thing too on these calls, these are going to be 30-minute calls. We're not going to ask you to dedicate an hour and a half into these builds and whatnot. It's important that you're here live with us if you work and learn better in a live setting. If not, it's going to be in the group for you to go in and watch. But just know, for me personally, I learn better in a live setting so I can ask a question. Okay. So just know that 30-minute quick hit calls. We know your time is valuable. We don't want to waste that. Again, this is what I wanted for my specific agency. My agency is different than Matt's. It's different than Eric's. It's different than Kevin's. Everyone wants different things on here. So some homework to be thinking about for next week's Wednesday call is, what do you want from a workflow? Do you want it like mine with a sales and a service and be able to see everything at once if you want and segment those out? So put some thought into it. When we built mine, I was putting stuff on paper and I was running things by Matt because Matt and I work for the same company. What do you think about this? Well, that's pretty specific. Let's keep it all bundled into this bucket for now. Cool. So think about what you want and what you want to be able to see on a daily in real time. And so that's another thing. I know there's some solo agents in here, but there's also some of us with teams. And one of the beautiful things about Agency Elephant is you can have multiple people signed in at once. My agency operates, everybody is logged into the same account. If Bob is texting me, but Ariel has to run to the bank quick and Bob replies, I'm in there too. I can reply back to Bob. Okay, so now let's say I'm working from home or I'm out of the state or whatever that is, or Ariel's working from home and something gets moved and done. Now she's going to see it. I'm going to see it. We always stay on the same page because I'll tell you what, I can't remember the last time we updated our whiteboard. And that was, we just don't, we're busy.
Well, one of the things that we were talking, this happens all the time when you get so behind on an activity. Like, for example, I have a whiteboard on my desk that I take notes on all the time, and I'll write to-do lists. At some point, if I know I didn't update that to-do list after 3 days, there is 0 point in me starting to update it again today because I missed 3 days. So I need to start over. You get to a point in anything where you're like, hey, I didn't call this person for the quote follow-up for 5 days. At this point, it's freaking done. I can't call it. Like, if you're not updating it every day and you're not using it every day and you're not doing these things every day, chances are it's harder to pick it back up and start. And with the workflow, we talked about this yesterday about having, Kristen had asked a question about, hey, do you feel it's better for a one-person office? Would it be a bit too complicated with multiple agents? If you are having agents, multiple people from the same office managing these, just as an FYI, there are comments here. You can update. So when you drag and drop people over into a different section, it pops up this box, right? And you can say, hey, when's the estimated close? What's the value of this deal? What's my confidence in it closing? What's the comments, right? You can update and move that into that new column. You can also update that box from your pipeline without dragging. You simply click that little 0, that confidence button here. You click that 0, it opens up and you can say, hey, Ashley called to address whatever, right? And you can save that note. And now anybody that's using this workflow that is managing the task can be like, hey, this person was sitting in a missing document section and it looks like Ashley already called them and she dated this 10/20. And she already called to address and left a voicemail, right? Called and left voicemail 10/20. You can update that. Perfect. She's in the missing documents. And then as this person is sitting in this status, you can see they've been in here for 0 days. They were added today. Tomorrow, this will be a 1. The next day, a 2. So you can come in and be like, hey, they've been missing documents for about a week. Ashley left a voicemail on the 20th. I'm going to go ahead and call today. Jim called, left voicemail, 11/1. Save it and move to the next. Like, this is a great way to manage your notes straight from your workflow, knowing what's going on. And one thing we notice people aren't using on this is the forecasting tool. There is a lot of power in knowing what kind of premium is closing now, what kind of premium you have scheduled to close next month, especially if you do a lot of lender deals and the EOI isn't until, it's not closing until December when the home gets built. you can know what your months are going to look like right at a glance.
Yeah, we'll say that up across the top of each category.
Yep. So this is your forecast tool. You can schedule that out to see how far out you want to view that. But yes, this is the workflows we are going to be going over. So for the last 5 minutes here, any quick questions that anyone wanted to go over? Richard Shaw said, rather than using the pipeline in AE, I've just added steps into my activity templates. For example, issue a new policy. It says move customer from prospect to current client and onboarding. And this is Richard's process. This is something he has set up to make sure he does it right every time. Your workflow is going to be different. Our goal is that you have a visual one that you can see at a glance what is going on. What's my temperature today?
Well, and one thing too, and I think a lot of people's hesitation to using the pipeline or using automation just in general is that they feel that every situation is unique and a one-off. And in some cases you're right, but in other cases you're not. It's the same process for us to get a referral from a lender, reach out to the client, quote it, deliver it, follow it up, close it, ask for the review, mention the documents that we need. Like all of those things have to happen at some point, right? But now if I can see it in real time, and when there is that real one-off scenario where a client is waiting 4 months for a part to come in and they're still in the pending claim, now that automation for a claim follow-up, I know it's not going out 4 months. That's not the norm. This is not the norm, but I can still see it and I can still do my due diligence as their agent to take it off of a drip and do one-on-one stuff for that specific situation now. And so that's why I like starting at the ground level with your workflow, and you'll know, hey, you know what? On my late pay or on my billing issue, I want to add this step, this ringless voicemail, this verbiage every single time. And letting someone know that this is an automated message based on ABC 1, 2, 3, I don't think is a bad thing for certain situations in here.
Correct. I don't think it is at all. You don't always have to be everything for every person personally. You can do a very effective job as an agent by leaning into the fact that some of this is automated, and they're going to be totally okay with it because you get automated messages about your reminder for your doctor appointment. You're not bothered the freaking doctor didn't call you personally. That thought never crossed your mind because they set an expectation of what is going to happen. It was never expected that they call you personally to remind you. But we live in a business where we think the expectation is that. But newsflash, we set the expectation. You are able to set that expectation.
Your story on Ham in a meeting, what's going on that inbound call, it's no different than burning someone's call to your cell phone and having an automatic text go out. And I do it all the time. Sorry, I can't talk now. When someone calls, you can do that from a cell phone and text them back instantly. So now the person
I have a
at least
template
knows,
on that's
right.
Literally how I do it. I burn my cell phone and I've got a text template that says, sorry, in a meeting, what's up?
I've seen it. I acknowledge your call. You don't have to leave me a voicemail. I'll hit you back up later when it's convenient for me and when I've got my day scheduled. I know what I have to do today.
And usually most things have to be in an email anyways. So what I have found in doing this, in burning these calls and immediately communicating with them, they say, hey, I bought a new vehicle. I need to add it. Awesome. I need you to email me. Almost everything needs to be in writing anyways. So why do we have to pick up the phone to tell them to email us when we can?
This is the worst one. This is my worst one right here. This is what gets under Ariel and I's skin. They call, they get the voicemail. It says, leave a detailed message. And it's, hey, Ariel, just had a few questions. Call me back. You've created this massive game of bullshit phone tag, and we don't have time for that.
No.
We just don't have time for that.
You have the right to say, we are understaffed and unable to handle inbound phone calls at the minute. We handle emails immediately. If you need an immediate response, please email us. We will check our voicemail every couple hours. Every other business in our world has changed how they do business, and everybody has accepted it as being okay for the most part. You control your agency's processes, you control your agency's culture and what types of fires you want to deal with every day. You control it, you control the expectation. The workflow is the starting point, is the base of, once I have my base, now I can change maybe some processes to try and help fix some areas that I know I need to fix.
We're at 30 minutes. Let's bang out a couple of these questions. Kevin asked, how do you change the view from just showing recent activity and upcoming appointments?
So are you talking about like this scheduled activity section? This is where you can schedule like a calendar appointment, if you will, and the recent activity. I typically don't use this section. I just use the notes here.
Well, in the workflow isn't necessarily going to be an appointment workflow. You can use the automated calendar for that and see all scheduled appointments from there, which has its own automation built into it, which you can sync with your Outlook calendar, Google Calendar, whatever you want to do. But I think those are two completely separate things. This is the temperature of my agency. This is not upcoming appointments.
And if you see on this top right, there's view activity and view leads, this little button, it toggles in between what I think you're talking about, Kevin. Recent activity, upcoming appointments, hit view leads, it'll show you the leads that are in your pipeline. Okay, that's something, an easy toggle. Once you toggle this to the lead, what I've noticed in my agency, I'm always on my pipeline. So when I log into Agency Elephant, it takes me straight to my pipeline. Now, that's because it understands it's where I want to go. And it understands I don't want to see this. So if I toggle it to view leads, it's going to show me this more often than not. And I'm not going to have to toggle back and forth every time.
Matt says, I'm on the health side. This pipeline is awesome with the built for you. I just have to tweak a few things. The hardest thing was to get partners to use it and add the mention of onboarding to the sales presentation. Matt and I were actually talking about this exact thing yesterday when we approach it from this angle and teach you how to customize your workflow. We've now crossed over into that life health side. And so you're going to know more than we are as to what statuses, what buckets you want, and what do you want to be able to see and in what pipeline or workflow, right? Like yep. I could have just thrown everything into one, but I like having the ability to toggle between service and sales or see it all at once. So just know that you can chop this up however it fits your specific business.
And we're going to be going over all of the back end and automation tools and all of this and how to trigger it, set it up, build it, do all that. That's what these Workflow Wednesdays are. It's showing you starting from a base. Next week, we're going to start blank and we're going to build from scratch. So your homework for the week is start jotting down some things. And if I were you, I'd take a screenshot of this picture right here real quick, so you have an idea of some things, but pick some things that you want to do in your workflow. Pick 4 or 5 things and come to the call next week. And we are going to have a blank slate and we are going to be building it from scratch with nothing in the account, no pipeline, no nothing, showing you how to build it from scratch and have it be this way in a few minutes. No automation, just visual. Okay, that is it. We appreciate you guys showing up. We'll see you next Wednesday.